Podcast Network presents Sports for the Culture.
I'm here with the family.
Bryce, XXV, Double I,
Rome,
D-Malo,
Gruff Lion.
T-Buggy, man.
Just the greatest sports show on the planet. La Familia. Hope y'all ready for a ride.
Can't wait to hear what you guys got to say.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know what it is. Yeah, this is Hail to the Culture. Don't get it confused. I am today's host, Young Rome 22. Here with my man Bryce as always. And we are here to talk Commanders draft today with a lot to get into. So I'm gonna just jump right in. Bryce, is there anything you wanna get off your chest before we get started?
Nah. We talking mostly draft, and a couple of things have been hot topics. But I do want to shout out to the mayor of DC for looking like she about to get that stadium done. Shout out to Ms. Bowser. We get that stadium in DC, we lit, bro.
Yeah, man, that might be a topic on another show here soon, because that stadium news is looking like it's about to be more and more official. And as we both know, getting that stadium site back in RFK means a lot for the city. But today the draft is right around the corner. It'll this time next week. Yeah, we'll. I don't think the Commanders will be on the clock just yet, but some teams will be on the clock. And the Commanders having the 29th pick makes things very interesting this year. Last year, this time we kind of already knew what to expect, who we were going to get. This year, options are wide open. That could go anywhere from trading up, trading down. But first, let's start with what we think is the biggest need in that first round for that first pick. Me personally, I think it's between pass rusher and running back. Bryce, I'm interested to get your thoughts on what you think the Commanders should do with that first pick in the first round.
Yeah, man. I feel like it really comes down to, do you want offense or do you want defense? You know what I mean? Like, and I also think that comes down to, like, do you want to draft for need or do you want to draft best player available, right? I think, like, if we just judge last couple seasons for real, it's pretty easy to say that the biggest need is on defense, right? But, like, what truly takes a team over the top? And I would not be mad if it was an offensive player. I think first round pick, I'm leaning edge rusher if one of the guys that they've targeted is available. But, like, if we got one of those top tackles, I couldn't be mad at that. You know what I mean? If we end up getting the right tackle, that can go opposite of Tunsil, kick Brandon Cone on the inside, we'd be looking at the best O-line that we've probably had in some years. So I couldn't really be mad at that at all. Like, so I really think it's like one of those things where, what do you think puts a team over the top? I think if they go defense, edge rusher, safety, linebacker, corner, whatever, honestly, I think that signals more of the long-term approach that I think was what our mindsets were coming into the Adam Peters regime. But I think if they go offensive player, then we're looking at more of a swing for the fences approach, strike while the iron's hot, so to speak.
Well, what would your approach be? Like, do you think this is a time to strike while the iron's hot? I mean, we were just in the NFC Championship game, and to your point, they've already made some moves in free agency on the offense that we've touched on previous shows. This might be a chance to really stack that offense and make it a dominant thing.
Personally, I do lean towards that strike while the iron's hot, right? Now, could last season have been fool's gold? Possibly. Maybe we just outplayed, like we just got the luck of the coin on every single draw, right? Maybe that was the case. I don't want to discount that because we had some close games that really were we won.
Could have went either way.
Yeah, we had some real narrow victories. But at that same time, it's like if you're able to add a dynamic offensive weapon to help Jaden, I don't want to take anything off Jaden's plate, but somebody that could turn a 5-yard gain into a 50-yard gain, then I'm with that. I'm really with that. Or if you're giving him more protection, so he's got more time, he can be comfortable in the pocket, I'm with that. So I lean strike while the iron's hot. But I really couldn't be upset either way.
Yeah, me personally, I agree with you. I think they got to strike while the iron's hot. I think with the 29th pick, you definitely got to go best player available, because you really don't know who could be there. There could be a player that falls, you know what I'm saying, a player that you weren't thinking you would have an opportunity to get, that you've already evaluated and that you would really like to get. So that makes it hard on if you should trade up or not trade up. Me personally, I kind of think they should stay where they're at. Um, but offense or defense is definitely tough. I would say you got to go with who's on the board, but I think personally they got to go defense. If that's the best guy on the board, and the reason I'm saying that is you've already made some good moves on the offensive side with Tunsil, with Debo Samuel, and the defense is still lacking. Like we went out and got the vet corner. I think we could still use a younger guy. I know we still got Sanders still, but I think we could still use a younger guy for the future and a younger guy in safety. But really, I think they have to address pass rusher. I don't know how many top tier pass rushers might be available at 29th pick, but that might be worth trading up for. If you're telling me we're going out moving up to get a stud pass rusher, then I'd be all in on trading up. But I think one of the ways you can help the offense is by getting the other offense off the field on third downs. And the best way to do that is to go pass rusher, because that was the biggest lack this season, I think. I think this past season, a big reason why some of the games were so close is because we weren't getting off the field on third down. We weren't getting that consistent pass rush that was getting home. We had guys that would occasionally get there, but it just wasn't consistent enough. And I think also, if you get a stud pass rusher, that frees up Lulu a little bit more when you blitz him, which would make him even more effective. So I think if you add one more piece of that defense, the pass rusher, it would go very far.
That's a reasonable take, right? Just after you evaluate the roster, it makes the most sense, I think, as well. One thing I'll say though is like, obviously drafts vary, right? And I do believe that this specific draft, pass rusher and D line in general, is one of the deepest it's been in some time, right? So does that mean you can forego drafting that in the first round and still find early contributor in that second, third round range? That's going to be the question Adam Peters is going to have to ask himself. Because if that's the case, maybe you do look to trade down and get a couple more picks in a year where you only have 5 picks. And there's some names that I do really like, that will probably be late first round, early second round picks. I think, obviously guys like Abdul Carter will be long off the board, right? I think even like Mike Green from Marshall will be long gone by the time we pick. But I think there's a chance that a guy like James Pierce from Tennessee could drop late first, early second. You could probably get a guy like Shamar Stewart. He probably ends up a late first round pick, unless someone just falls in love with the measurables. And then there's other guys like Oladejo from UCLA who they've been reported in like really being high on, who could be maybe a late second, mid second round pick, third round possibly. And if you really believe in one of these late round guys, think about it. The biggest contributor outside of Jaden from our rookie class last year had to have been Mikey Sanders still, right? And that's a second round pick. And when you look at the offensive side of the ball from last year, the other second round pick, Ben Sinnott, didn't really contribute too much, right, at his position. So you'd have to say, like, based off that alone, maybe you do lean defense with that second round, and shoot for the stars on offense in that first. That's kind of where I think I'm leaning. But then again, if that trade down option's there, that might be the perfect landing spot for us.
Yeah, trading down would be really enticing, especially if you add picks. Because, like you said, we only got 5 this season. But it would be interesting if they do go pass rusher. You named some good names there. Which one of those guys would you more be inclined to pick?
Man, it's so tough, bro, because I feel like all of those pass rushers that I kind of was naming have like some flaws. And I want to pull up just a quick list so I can run through them a bit. But
because it is a deep class when I was researching it myself. To your point, I was honestly thinking maybe they could wait till the second, third round pick to try to grab a pass rusher if they do shoot for the stars on offense, which I wouldn't be mad at.
Yeah, I'll say this, obviously Carter is like dream scenario, right? But he'll be long gone unless some miraculous trade up happens. But then I think you've got 3 to 4 guys where it's just like, bruh, it's so hard to project where these dudes might land. I think both the Georgia players have potential. I think I'm a little higher on Michael Williams' potential than I am on Jalen Walker's out of Georgia. James Pierce Jr. is a speed demon off the edge, bro. Apparently, he's got some off the field concerns. People question how much he loves football, but you get him in our locker room, and it might just work out. And Shamar
Pairing him with Luvu would be crazy. That would be a
a lot
lot
of
of
speed.
speed.
A lot of speed. That's a lot of tenacity for sure. Shamar Stewart has some of the best testing. Shamar Stewart to me is one of the more interesting prospects because prospects that test as good as he does never make it out of the top 5 to 10 picks. I mean, like, where did Rashawn Gary go when he got drafted by the Packers? I don't even think he was
I
able to
want to
make it. I don't even think he was in the combine, bro. Right?
I want to
And
say top to something.
yeah, and he
He
only
was
reason he went that low is because he didn't even. I don't even remember if he actually tested in the combine that year. But like even Rashawn Gary, he kind of reminds me of Rashawn Gary, and Rashawn Gary ended up going 12 without
yeah,
really
that's what I
testing
thought.
the
12.
combine. Only had a few sacks his whole college career. Still ended up going 12 because of the measurables. Shamar Stewart has those type of measurables, bro. Like how do you pass on this type of prospect? But then you look at his stats. He's got 1.5 sacks a year for 3 years straight. Like you got you had 4 sacks total in college, and I'm supposed to be drafting you top 10. Like it just
Yeah, it doesn't add
doesn't
up.
add up, right? And then I think a underrated guy is who I could really see being a commander, as they like to say. Dan Quinn and Adam Peters are always talking about finding a commander. Landon Jackson from Arkansas. I don't think he's the most gifted athlete, but like he plays with that spirit that I think that Dan Quinn and Peters are really looking for. So that's a guy I keep my eye on, especially if they decide to wait till that second round pick, maybe make something happen with a trade down from the first. I would keep my eyes on Landon Jackson.
That's some good info, man. I'm actually familiar with Landon Jackson in Arkansas. He's a solid player, and he does fit that Dan Quinn prototype, so to say. Um, but yeah, let's stay on this first round pick topic, but let's switch it. Let's say they go offense, right? Because we were talking about it a little bit pre-show backstage. The running back spot, right? A lot of people around the team have been talking about they need to upgrade a running back, and what we were saying backstage was how badly is that upgrade needed? Because I don't think that I do think there's an upgrade that's needed, but I think you got to base that on the status of Brian Robinson Jr. and Austin Eckler. Like, how much do you think they're going to give you this year? Brian Robinson's going into his fourth year. Eckler, as we know, is pretty up there as far as running back years go. Um, so how badly do you think we need to bring in a young running back, and is it worth doing that in the first round?
It's tough, and it's tough because the fan base in general has soured on Brian Robinson much more than I think I have. I mean, I got boys I talk to in group chats or just on the side, and they all done with B Rob. I haven't really given up on B Rob, and like if you were done with B Rob this season, like how could you be more done with B Rob this season than you were last season when his yards per carry has literally increased every single season he's been in the league. You know what I'm saying? So like on paper, he's doing better and he's getting better each year. I think what it is people want a more explosive back. And the question becomes, if you want a more explosive back, do you truly want an every down back, right? Like, or do you want more of that David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs feel, where you're splitting carries pretty evenly, and you got guys that you kind of have different roles, right? And I think that's what it really comes down to. I'm not opposed to trying to upgrade Brian Robinson. I think if we see a running back drafted in the second round, that can mean the end of B Rob in Washington, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I also say, like, I could also see them wanting to pair a smaller, quicker, shiftier guy with B Rob. So I mean, but there are some guys like I have really come around on Quishon Judkins recently. I was kind of late to the Judkins party. I watched him at Ohio State, and I wasn't overly impressed. But the more I think about it, 220 and you running in the low 4.4s, that is impressive, man. No matter what, and I think he's shown enough vision and enough toughness that I think he could be an every down back in the league. Another guy I love is Travion Henderson, but I don't think Travion Henderson is your every down back. I think he's like more like the house call that can hit a home run at any moment. And if that's the case, then maybe we keep B Rob around and Travion Henderson eats more into that Austin Eckler role, right? So I don't know. It's tough to call, but it seems like overall the fan base is soured on B Rob.
Yeah, I think the route that you just described is the route that the team is more likely to go. Eckler being the older back, and we all know what happens with the older running backs. Honestly, D Rob being in his fourth year is getting in that category as well as far as running back goes, which is probably the reason the fan base is starting to sour on him. Me personally, I'm with you. I don't see any reason to really sour on B Rob. My only gripe with him really was as the season went on, it seemed like he started to lose his legs a little bit. The injuries started to add up. So I just need him to be able to stay healthy through the full 17 into the playoffs, which which is why I think they need to draft a guy. And I don't think it needs to be first round. I think you could wait second, third. Yeah, definitely wait. But you got to get a shiftier guy that can eat into some of those Austin Eckler touches because we saw how many games and snaps Eckler had to miss due to injury as well. So I think you got to add another running back, right? I'm not sure if Christian Gonzalez and all them are still on the roster, but I would add another guy to compete with them and eat at some of the Austin Eckler snaps. I kind of think drafting a running back in this year's draft is mandatory. Um, whether you're just getting a guy that can take some snaps for the season, or you're drafting a guy that will eventually surpass Brian Robinson and take the spot. I think either way, you got to get a running back in this draft in the first 3 rounds.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think where we differ a little bit is I would stay away from like trying to draft a shiftier back. I don't want to draft like a scat back. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to draft a player because I think you made a great point. Like when B Rob got hurt, we were really out of viable options. And I shouldn't say out of options because I mean we had guys. And like you brought up Chris Rodriguez.
McNichols came out of nowhere. That wasn't expected. Jeremy McNichols.
Yeah,
Like
like
once
Jeremy
B Rob went
McNichols.
down, he started cooking, but it wasn't like
I don't want to see any more Jeremy McNichols carries or receptions after that fumble he had returning. I
facts.
know he was returning a kick. I know he was returning a kick, but bro, after that fumble, I'm good on McNichols, bro. Maybe he's a great locker room guy. Keep him around for that, but he should be our fifth running back. He should be the running back that's on the practice squad that comes up in case of emergency, break glass, and you got Jeremy McNichols. All right. I would like to see a guy, maybe not necessarily in the B Rob mold per se, but an every down back. I want us to draft an every down back and bring in some good competition for B Rob. I don't want to go into just B Rob's our automatic starting running back, but I don't want to go in with any position with that except like quarterback or a position where you have a certified Pro Bowler. If you don't have if it's not quarterback or a certified Pro Bowler, every position should be up for grabs every single year, and that's the type of competition I want them to create. And I feel like we need that with the running back room. There's a couple guys late that I would really love. I think my favorite, like mid-round pick at running back, is going to be Damian Martinez out of Miami. I think he could come in and really give B Rob a run for his money. They did interview Caleb Johnson from Iowa. I was real high on Caleb, man. I honestly, I am really high on Caleb Johnson. But then one of my boys texted me a draft profile of Caleb Johnson. And you know who his comp was?
Brian Robinson.
It was B Rob, bro. I was like, yeah, that'd be crazy work to have two B Robs back there. We got
Hey, so what you're saying is if they draft Caleb, the writing is on the wall.
Hey, bro,
We just got the younger version.
Two-headed monster. We coming at you with two B Robs. That'd be crazy work. I don't know about that, but I like Caleb Johnson, and I think he'll go higher than people expect. Another late round running back, and I'm somewhat high on. Two. One is Cam Scatterboo. That's my guy. If we get Cam Scatterboo, I'm with it, bro. Like I feel like he got the ability to break tackles. I love his contact balance. And I don't know what he did with Arizona State was impressive to me. And then one late round guy I've heard they have interest in is Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. And one of my boys has got me hip to this guy. He went crazy in the East-West game after only playing like a few snaps this season after being ruled ineligible for some NCAA violations. But Cuz was going crazy, and he got crazy cutback ability. So those are a few guys that I think middle to late rounds we should be targeting. But if we get Scatterboo or Damian Martinez, bro, yeah, I think B-Rob might be out of a job.
Yeah, it might be headed that way for good old B-Rob, man. But only time will tell, man. Like I said, this time next week it'll be a very interesting scenario. So let's talk about like the trade up, trade down factor. Let's get more into that real quick. Me, like I already said earlier, like me personally, I don't see much reason to trade up unless you really feel like you could go get, a stud, a superstar. Like I only want to see us trade up if we're trading up for Carter or what's the running back? Janetti,
Yeah.
Jadenti, yeah. Like those are the kind of players I want to see us trade up for. Trade up for a star. Trade up and go get Travis Hunter. Something crazy, ridiculous, right? They're not going to do any of that. So what I think is more likely to see, more likely to occur, is a trade down. I think there is a strong chance for a trade down. I haven't heard too much about it actually happening, but I would not be surprised knowing how Adam Peters moves if he trades back and collects more picks and starts wheeling and dealing. What are your thoughts on the trade up, trade down scenarios, and what would you do?
It's another very interesting thing, man, because like of where we are as a team right now, right? And if you see one guy that you truly believe puts this team over the top, and I'm talking about like someone that you believe has star potential. Let's start, like you said, Genty, Travis Hunter. Me personally, I would even throw Teodoro McMillan on that list. I think T Mac's going to be like a stud receiver. You put him like almost like a Drake London or something, right? And you could tell me we could have a Drake London right now, and all we got to do is trade like a second and a third round pick. Bro, I'm on board. I'm on board. You know what I'm saying? Like, give them next year, second and third, and our first round this year, we move up 7 spots and get T Mac. I could not be against that, right? Um, on the flip side, I do think it handicaps like what Adam Peters is all about, and that's building through the draft, right? But when you're
Right.
this close to being a really good team, sometimes those are the moves you have to make and the chances you have to take. So I would say I would rather trade up than trade down personally, because I feel like trade down means I'm not getting a top player, and I think that this draft, in my opinion, I think it's a very deep draft, but I don't think it's a very top heavy draft. So if you want to get one of those top guys, like trade up is probably your only option, and if you end up trading down, you could. There's always diamonds in the rough for sure, but your chance of getting a top guy, a top athlete, really, really, really dwindles down if you don't trade up, in my opinion. So, although I think a trade up is unlikely, if it was there on the table and we didn't have to give up too many picks, we only got 5 picks, right? We could somehow keep our mid round picks. Maybe move some picks from next year to trade up. I would be on board, man, for sure.
Yeah, man. If I watching the draft next week, if I see a trade and they're talking about the Commanders have traded up, it might be emergency pod time. Like if in that scenario, like if we're trading up, trust and believe it'll be a trade up for a star player, and that would be very exciting. But like
And
we both said, I think that's the least likely scenario as far as realisticness. Because we both know Peters likes to build through the draft, and the best way to do that is to stack picks. GMs like that typically feel like they got the scouts and the know-how to find those diamonds in the rough, as you say. So I'll be very interested to see what they do. I don't think they'll trade up, but I do know if they do, that means Adam Peters is locked in on a star player, and he typically don't miss on those ones.
now that's a fact, and like like adding a little historical context, right? Like the last time we traded up, the player we traded up for, like the last time we traded up in the first round, the player we traded up for ended up being better than the player we drafted in the first, right? Last
Yeah.
time we traded up in the first, we ended up with Dwayne Haskins, our first pick, and Montez Sweat, the
Yep.
second first round pick, right? And if you ask me, Montez had the better career as a commander than
Definitely.
Dwayne Haskins did, right? For reasons we won't get into the reasons why, but just with historical context, if you trade up and you're able to get an impact player, like year one impact, I like that idea for a team that's this close. I like that idea a lot for a team that's this close. Now, for a team that's far away, like we were at that time, I don't like it or get it, right? I don't feel like if you're drafting a first round quarterback, you probably shouldn't be trading up. But it's like if you there and you got something going, like hell, trade up. And the other thing I think is gets taken for granted a little bit is trading like future picks. And I think when you got a GM, a crafty GM like Adam Peters, let's not forget, like at one point we didn't even have like trade ammo, right? Like we got trade ammo throughout this season, right? Think about the Jahan Dodson move. right? To get a couple more picks. Like Adam Peters is pretty savvy, has the ability to get picks as the years go by. So like I'm not too concerned with trading future picks. And I think that might be the sweet spot for us to try to find like or try to find a trade up partner. Is like, hey, maybe we can get rid of some future picks. And if they end up trading a future second rounder to trade up in the first round, I'm cool with that. Or future second and a third to trade up in the first, I'm cool with that personally. But when you only have 5 picks, it's hard to mortgage this year's draft to trade up. I think that's the one thing I probably
Right, right, right. And that's why I say if they do trade up, even if it's a trade up in a later round, I wouldn't be too shocked. But if they do trade up at all, that is telling me that Peters and company have locked in on a player, and we should be excited about that player that they're trading up to get. Because like we've been saying, this is a guy who's not gonna throw away picks. You know what I'm saying? This is a guy who likes to have picks in his pocket. So if he's willing to give those picks up, that means good things are coming.
I got one thing I want to throw out there on the trade up because like I've been thinking a lot about what Adam Peters and Dan Quinn kind of are as like a coach and a GM and their philosophies. One player that I could see them trading up for is Jahad Campbell from Alabama. I'm not saying he's Michael Parsons, but he reminds me a whole lot of Michael Parsons coming out of Penn State because he is an off-ball or was an off-ball linebacker, but was at his best as a pass rusher. And that's basically what Michael Parsons was at Penn State. They used to play him off-ball LB, but he was best as a pass rusher. I could see Dan Quinn looking at Adam Peters and being like, I got to have this guy. So I would not be surprised if it's a trade up. Just remember I said this in case it happens. If it's Jahad Campbell on the trade up, bro, I'm not shocked at all. I'd be happy.
Remember where y'all heard that first. But yeah, bro, let's keep it pushing. Before we get out of here, there was another topic I wanted to get into. We didn't really discuss it too much, and that was the Jaden Daniels, and he was at Brandon Ayuk's wedding recently, the wedding party. A bunch of videos came out where Jaden Daniels was there with his mom, right? And for me, this I wanted to get this out into the ether because this whole Jaden Daniels and his mama thing it's starting to annoy me a little bit. So I wanted to take my time on this platform that we have to address this. This is my take, and Bryce, you can give your take here too on this. I'm sick of people hating on Jaden Daniels bringing his mama to events. I'm sick of people hating on the mama popping up in between him and you know what I'm saying, the fine female basketball players. Look, how many times have we seen a star athlete in multiple sports with multiple baby mamas, or like we just seen Ant Edwards pay off his whoever for the rest of forever. You know what I'm saying? We seen the ridiculousness that Zion's with. Look, as the parent of a young athlete, make your mama your plus one. It is you look a lot less silly with your mom sitting in between you and a lady than you do with a BBL bandit trying to run off with all your money. So my take on that, man, y'all gotta let Jaden live. All these wild accusations people are throwing out, all this, like, it's cute, it's fun to poke fun on the internet, but that's something that we should be applauding because we see enough foolishness from athletes. And I think this is a solid family structure. When LeVar Ball was involved with his boys, I guess it's different because it's a father dynamic, but there wasn't there was some hate or whatever, but it wasn't the same style. So I think we should ease off of Mrs. Daniels and what I'm saying, let her do her thing because she's raised a great young man who is leading our franchise to the next level.
Hey man, I think that's pretty well said. Now I will chime in. Sitting in between Jaden and Juju was insane. All right, I gotta say that. Everything else I agree with, but the wild thing about that is, we see one photo and we make all these judgments off of it. But it could have easily been a situation where they've known Juju for years, and Jaden got up, so the mom sits next to her to talk, and then he comes back, just happens to sit down, and then the photo makes it look like it's something that it was never. You know what I'm saying? So
right,
gotta take those photos with a grain of salt. I appreciate Mama Daniel. She holding it down, in my opinion. Keep my quarterback away from these skeezers. You know what I'm saying? Keep my quarterback safe, please. This is the future of our franchise, and we need him in a good headspace. So we can keep doing what we're doing. So I think it's kind of funny, but I'm not mad at it one bit. I think people overreact to it for sure. And yeah, man, I feel like whenever I don't want to get too into it. I don't want to get too into the weeds, but I just say people shouldn't hate on like people's circles, bro. That's his circle. He's close with his mom. Like, let it be. It is what it is, man.
Nah, facts, man, facts. I personally I applaud it, man. I applaud it. We see enough foolishness out here, so let's get something wholesome. What they need to bring back that chunky soup commercial. This is the commercials are writing themselves at this point. like,
Bull, bro.
like this is a chunky soup commercial in the making right here, man.
No, that would put the chunky soup stock up 1,000,000. Bro. All right, that's the perfect chunky soup commercial right there.
No, literally, you get Juju, you get Jaden Daniels. Hey, if y'all end up making that commercial, hey, I just want a small percentage. That's all.
Yeah, you deserve something because that's a great pool.
Yeah, man. Anything else you want to get off before we get out of here?
Nah, man, I'm just looking forward to the draft. I know we're gonna have some more draft coverage leading up to it, so I'm looking forward to that. Thank you everybody that's been tuning in, rocking with us, leaving comments. We definitely gonna try to increase our frequency with these pods. We really got to get into that rhythm, and we almost there. And I think that as the offseason continues, we'll try to be y'all's number one spot for some commanders talk in the offseason, man. Looking forward to the draft, and keep tuning in for what we've got coming.
Yeah, definitely stay tuned, stay hip. Even if we're not live every week, I will try to get out some content leading all the way up to the season. I plan to be on some training camps as well. And we got a special guest coming up here for before the draft. We'll have another show before the draft with a special guest. So definitely stay tuned and be locked in for Hell to the Culture.
Hell to the culture.